on the back of a memo from Health Minister Joe Pahla shared on social media, which indicates that COVID-19 regulations will be relaxed, which includes the dropping of face masks in public places. Wendy says that it is now up to individuals to demonstrate personal responsibility while using all the knowledge that they had learnt over the last 2 years. The safety of farm workers transported in open trucks is again in the spotlight following the accident on Monday, which saw 35 workers injured, with COSATU asking for urgent intervention before people are killed. COSATU provincial spokesperson Malvin de Bruyn said the issue of farm worker transport calls for action at the highest level. De Bruyn said COSATU had called on the Human Rights Commission to investigate further and they will monitor the situation closely. They've also discussed the possibility of instituting civil claims on behalf of the farm workers. Last year, 3 farm workers died when 40 women were flung off the back of a 4-ton truck when the driver allegedly lost control of the vehicle. The accident happened at Cannet Flay between Worcester and De Doorns. Operation Dudula says the law should take its course if any of its members are found to be responsible for causing a fire at the Yeoville market in Johannesburg. This follows claims by some traders that members of Operation Dudula are responsible for the blaze that gutted part of the market in the early hours of Tuesday morning. More than 20 shops were affected. Some traders say members of the organization came to the market last week, threatening to close it but were prevented by the police. The cause of the fire is yet to be determined and police are investigating. In sporting news, scores of people from various civic organizations picketed outside the South African Football Association Capricorn Regional Office in Polokwane, Limpopo. The protesters, who call themselves Back on Track Movement, are accusing SAFA Capricorn Region of betrayal following its decision to nominate Danny Jordan for another term as president of SAFA ahead of the association's leadership elections this week. That's a wrap of the news for today. For Bush Radio News, I am Lizeka Totets.
For more news, log on to www.bushradionews.blogspot.com.
Bush Radio 89.5 FM News.
Good evening. My name is Lerato Mashile, and this is the Cape Town Mayor Geordin Hill-Lewis radio simulcast. And joining me is, of course, our favorite, the Mayor Geordin Hill-Lewis. How are you, Jordan?
That's very kind of you, Lerato.
How are you?
Joining my favorite radio host. Nice to be with you, Lerato. I'm good. How are you?
I'm well, thanks. Now, of course, tonight's discussion is on how the city is proactively responding to current winter weather conditions and how it's planning to grow our local economy and make the summer one of the best. Now, if we want to be part of this conversation, and all you have to do in order to be part of this conversation is to send in those WhatsApps on our WhatsApp line on 061 862 1065. I'll say that again a little bit slower because I do tend to speed up. It's 061 862 1065. Now, Jordan, as part of our usual tradition, of course, I'm interested in finding out what has been the most significant developments over this past month outside of tonight's topic.
Well, I think I should just talk about a personal highlight.
Okay.
And that was, of course, firstly seeing 31,000 people get together on Saturday night at DHL Cape Town Stadium. What a wonderful feeling it was just to see everyone together again in huge numbers. Obviously, we would have liked it to be 62,000.
Yeah.
And I had written to the president before to ask him to please allow that. But nevertheless, it was just so energetic, so wonderful. It felt united. It felt like Cape Town was out and about again. And then, of course, the terrific result of that game, to see the Stormers winning the URC final, the inaugural champs, and really ending a dry spell for Western Province rugby. For all the rugby fans out there, I know that it was a delightful, wonderful evening, and also for all Cape Townians just to see. One really did feel like Cape Town was back. And on Friday, of course, we're hosting the Stormers for a open bus victory tour around the city. Wow. We really want to invite everyone to be there at the City Hall, at Grand Parade, at 10:30 on Friday morning. catch a glimpse of our champions.
I love that. I love that. But now, of course, Geordin, the removal of the remaining COVID-19 restrictions is something that you and the Western Cape government have been lobbying for, as you've mentioned, for months now. And now, finally, it sounds like we're going to have these lifted. What is your reaction to this, and what does it mean for the events industry?
My reaction is hugely positive. I endorse it. I welcome it. I think it is long overdue. We had the President's Coordinating Council this morning. I joined the meeting, and my message is exactly what I'm saying to you now, that this is long overdue. We should have done this many months ago, but we're not going to cry over spilt milk. We're going to welcome it now and say, let's get on with it as quickly as possible, because this is, it's not just about removing the masks. The masks, we're all a bit annoyed and tired of the masks. Of course, if you want to carry on wearing it, you're welcome to do so, but I don't think we should be forced to. And the real thing is what it means for our people who work in our theaters, our artists, our dancers, our musicians, comedians, people who work in venues, in restaurants, in in sports, at our stadiums. For that, it is a huge impact. And then there's a whole lot of public services. People, anyone who's visited a City of Cape Town facility over the last 2 years will know that you've had to queue outside because we're not allowed to fill up the waiting rooms. If you go to a clinic, even elderly people have had to wait outside. Not all of our clinics have got shelter outside. So that's all going to be over now. We can fill those venues up to capacity. We can look after more homeless people in our safe spaces. It just means a whole lot of really important improvements for people. And so it fills me with joy. I'm thrilled.
I love that, man. I love that. Now, of course, we want you to be part of this conversation, and all you got to do is hit us up on our WhatsApp line on 061 862 1065. That's 061 862 1065. We are talking about how the city is proactively responding to current winter weather conditions and how it's planning to grow our local economy. Now, of course, Geordin, it's been a really busy couple of weeks for the city. So I want to catch up on some of the different things that have been happening in the city. First up, the city teams were kept very busy over the past 2 weeks, responding to the localized flooding brought on by the significant rainfall.
Yeah, that was one heck of a storm last week, Sunday and Monday, wasn't it? And we got, usually in June, we get about 90 millimeters, about 10 centimeters of rain in June. This year we got, just last week, Sunday and Monday, we got 130 millimeters in 2 days. Actually, in less than that, in about 36 hours. So it was a proper deluge in the proper sense of the word. And it did stress, it stretched the capacity of our disaster risk management teams. There were lots of areas of the city where flooding happened, where people had water in their homes. There are still some areas, 4 or 5 areas right now, where we are still helping to try and pump water out to mop up those. Fortunately, Lerato, we had no
fatalities,
no deaths or injuries. We had one road that was pretty seriously damaged, but that's okay. That's easy to fix. But there were lots and lots of residents who were affected, and I just want to thank them for their patience. I went to visit a lot of them last week, and it was really tough. And to live an entire week or more with water sloshing around your feet, sometimes inside your home, that's really unpleasant. Really unpleasant.
Definitely.
So I really appreciate their patience, and thank you also to our teams who really helped last week and worked 4 or 5 days without any rest. They did a great job.
And then I guess somewhat that's related to also, the illegal dumping and the blockages of the sewers. Now, the city recently took delivery of 19 new refuse collection vehicles. We heard before from some of the residents that their refuse sometimes isn't collected. Is this going to be helped solve that problem?
Yeah, this is good news. We want every single Cape Townian to get their trash collected on schedule, on time, every week, no exceptions. That's the standard we set. And where that isn't met, it's usually because our trucks break down from time to time. They take heavy wear and tear in and around Cape Town. And so, last couple of weeks, we've taken delivery of 19 new trash compactors. They are just the first in more that are coming. We want to get our fleet nice and new and shiny so that everyone can expect to have their refuse collected. And then, importantly, this is hopefully the second round effect, is that we will see less dumping around the city, less illegal
Definitely.
dumping, because that is what messes up a lot of our infrastructure. Firstly, it messes up our public spaces, all those beautiful places where you want your kids to play. They're not looking so beautiful if they're full of illegal dumping. And then they go into our drains and clog up our systems and really cause all of this winter flooding.
Now, of course, we want you to be part of this conversation. All you have to do is send in those WhatsApps on our WhatsApp line. It's 061 862 1065. It's 061 862 1065. We are talking about how the city is proactively responding to the current winter weather conditions and how it's also planning to grow our local economy and make the summer one of the best. Now, we have a WhatsApp question here that says, and I quote, "Good evening, Lerato. This is about the scrapping of rates. My sister applied and was rejected. And as her husband earns more than 4,000 Rand per month, he was also a victim of COVID-19, having lost his job and having been unemployed for a year. When she phoned and was told to bring her rates account ID, no mention of a salary bracket. She also emailed the mayor's office, and from there, no reply as well." Okay.
Okay, by the sounds of things, the person who's contacted us via the WhatsApp line is looking for a rates rebate for indigent residents, which means for those who are really struggling to get by. We do have set criteria for those, and those who are earning their own property, they have the potential to pay a little bit. Obviously, they do need to pay a little bit. They can't get a total write-off of their rates. And so if the person who's written to us doesn't meet the criteria in terms of that policy, then I'm afraid that's the policy. That's the way that it works. Nevertheless, I do want every single person who writes to us. Whoopsie.
Oh, wow. Load shedding here.
Thank you, Eskom.
Oh, wow. Okay. Yes.
Are we still on the air?
No, we're definitely still on air.
Okay.
Yes, we've got that.
Okay, so everyone who writes to my office should get a reply, and so I would really love to get your details to find out who's dropped that ball.
Definitely. Now, of course, then on to something completely different. Because you've been very busy, you recently engaged with the events industry, role players, and experts on the status of the events industry. Is it clear that the Cape Town is moving towards recovery and growth post COVID-19?
It's absolutely clear and very exciting, actually. So much of what we are trying to do in Cape Town is about growing our economy, so that we can get more people into work opportunities and out of poverty over time. And so it's just great to see that so many events, so many new airlines are coming back to Cape Town. So many events are choosing Cape Town to host their big events. In fact, just this year, we've so far issued 436 major event permits in Cape Town. So that's we're only 6-7 months into the year. So it's been very busy. It is great to see it all coming back, and that bodes well for everyone who works in our events industry, all of the people and families that industry supports.
Sure. Oh man, that is amazing. I like that. I love the sound of that. But listen, it's also about, including you in this conversation. So please do make sure that you send in those WhatsApps on our WhatsApp line on 061 862 1065. It's 061 862 1065. And if we do happen to just cut off, please understand that it's load shedding. It's not us. It's not us at all.
That's why we're working so hard to end load shedding in Cape Town.
Oh man.
And we don't have to do radio shows in the dark. Just so that I think we should describe what's
currently happening, right?
Just so that all the listeners at home can know, we are sitting in a pitch dark studio, talking to one another. We can barely see one another, but Lorato's just switched on her cell phone torch, so we can kind of see one another now. But at least you can still hear us at home.
Definitely. Now, of course, then we've touched on this one before, but now it's around the corner. On the 1st of July, the city's rail feasibility starts. How long until we have the functional rail network in the city?
I love talking about these questions, but particularly sitting here in the dark, it just reminds me why this is so important that we do these things for ourselves. We cannot rely for a minute on national government to solve these problems for us. Cape Town must do it ourselves, and rail is another one of those great examples There are 1 million people in Cape Town, 1 million people that need to take the train and cannot at the moment because the train is barely working. So, we want to make sure that there's just a functional, working, reliable, safe, reasonably affordable train system. Is that too much to ask in the 21st century in a modern democracy? I don't think that's too much to ask at all. And so if it can't be done elsewhere, we will do it ourselves.
Definitely, definitely. Now, of course, we have another WhatsApp question that says, and I quote, "Good evening, Mayor. What can be done as every winter we have flooding? How many houses are built each year, and what is being done to prevent people building shacks in flood plains?"
Oh, that's such a great question. It is so difficult because there are so many parts of Cape Town that are actually floodplains, to prevent people from building around them or in them in some cases. One of the ideas that we've been toying around with now is getting those huge concrete barriers that you see at the harbor, that they put in the harbor to deal with the waves.
Okay.
To try and block off some of those flood areas with those, to try and prevent people from building there. Before this winter, we went around with a loud hailer to all of those areas. We warned people, this is what's coming. We said it was going to come in July because that's usually when we get our worst rains.
Yeah.
Actually, it came in June.
Yeah.
And we were absolutely dead on the money right when we warned those areas. You will be flooded later this year when the worst rains come.
Sure.
And please take action now to either move or to raise the level of your structure. But really, these are not places where structures should even be. I mean, in one part of the city, we've got informal structures right beneath a dam wall. If that dam overflows in a major flood, like we had, for example, in KZN, we've got serious problems. So we've got to think of innovative ways to keep people away from those flood-prone areas.
And we also have another WhatsApp question that says, and I quote, "How will we progress towards recycling trucks in all communities? We can't continue dumping recyclable goods, and only certain areas have the convenience of these facilities."
Yeah, that's a good question. My area where I live just recently got this service, and it is an amazing service. It's so great to be able to recycle and make that positive contribution. Everyone can recycle even without that service. You can separate your recycling and take it to a recycling depot, but it is a bit harder. I understand that. The real issue is that actually we're doing so well in recycling that the recycling depots that we have are operating already over capacity.
Okay.
So we are generating a lot of recycled material. So we've got some catch up to do. It's not about the trucks.
Okay.
The person is asking about the trucks. The trucks
Yeah.
is the easy part. It's about where you take it all to process it into recycled material, and you've got to have the space and the facilities to do that.
Now, of course, before we close off the evening, the city's budget was recently passed, and that means new rates and tariffs for residents from the 1st of July. Please just remind residents what this means.
Well, every year, Cape Town publishes its budget, and its budget sets out what we are going to do in the year ahead. This year, we published some really enormous investments, mainly in safety, keeping people safer in Cape Town. 150 new law enforcement officers, tens of millions of rands in technology and drones and CCTV and so on. More traffic officers. We also published some plans for additional housing, for the load shedding stuff that we've spoken about before, and we also have to keep on delivering free basic services to residents in the city that cannot afford any basic services. So to pay for all of that, we publish our rates and tariffs. And this year, what I'm proud of is that in a year in which, in fact, today, they've just confirmed that inflation is now 6.5% and probably will end the year higher. All of our increases are below inflation, except, of course, electricity, because that mainly comes from Eskom. We are essentially price takers there. We've got a little portion that we add on top to cover things like the street lights that we run and cable theft and maintaining our own network. But really, the huge bulk of it is just the Eskom cost. And so yeah, I'm proud of that. I think we are very cognizant of the fact that families are having a tough time, that we can't just keep on increasing rates and taxes, and so we've kept them very modest and medium, so that we can help families' pockets.
Definitely. Now, of course, we have another WhatsApp question that says, and I quote, "Hi, Mayor. I'm facing eviction next week, Tuesday. It's court for
Wow.
me. So explain as to why I can't go stay in Mfuleni in a shack provided by the government while my work is just around the corner where I rent in Plumstead. I sent you an email, but no response yet."
Why I can't go and live in Fuleni?
Yes, I think I'm assuming it's now the particular person wants to stay in a shack in Mfuleni because it's right around the corner from their workplace.
I'm not sure who's preventing you from staying there, ma'am. Of course, you can stay there.
Okay.
You just, I'm not sure of the detail of what you mean of why you can't stay there.
Mhm.
I mean, you can as long as there's a place available. You can.
Okay. So I'm assuming that settles it. If not, please do send us another WhatsApp question. But of course, if you have any questions and also want to partake in this conversation, all you have to do is send in those WhatsApps on our WhatsApp line on 061 862 1065. That is 061 862 1065. Now, of course, Geordin, thank you so much for a great interview. I think we've covered quite a bit this evening as you've clearly been very busy. Any last comment as we close? In the middle of the dark, like pretty much.
Well, thank you. I always enjoy the interaction. Thanks to those who've written to us. I'll take the details of those who I need to get back to. And thank you to Cape Townians for the great contribution they make and for being such a cool city and cool people.
Love that, man. Thank you so much to, of course, the Cape Town Mayor, Geordin Hill-Lewis. That, of course, does conclude our show for this evening. Thank you so much to, of course, the listeners at home and online who have tuned in. Do join us the next time as we continue with these engaging, important topics. This is, of course, the Cape Town Simulcast radio show by, of course, the Cape Town Mayor, Geordin Hill-Lewis, talking to us about how to make Cape Town great, but most importantly, how the city is proactively responding to the current winter weather conditions and how it's also planning on growing the local economy. Do make sure that you keep it locked and loaded right here.